Hey there, party people. This is Breed, longtime sketch artist on Marvel series such as Masterpieces, Black Diamond, Premiere, and multiple MCU sets. You're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast with Ian Taylor and Norrin Rad. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Taylor, and you are listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, your weekly digest of hobby goodness, all killer, no filler, brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective, an awesome community of card collectors and creators. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details of which are at the end of this podcast, so come check us out. I've got a smile on my face as I say these words, and that's how this podcast makes me feel. With me, as always, is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards. Insert funny or piffy play on words intro here. It's Norrin Rad.
I love it. That was awesome. That was really great. That was great. That was absolutely great. Man, you're a pro.
I think I forgot to write something there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good, though. You've never, done it raw before.
I never
technically, this is someone buying the intro raw to get it graded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you go.
I like it. I like where your head's at.
I try.
Right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. The day that this will drop will be the episode that our competition has just ended on Instagram.
That's right. That's right.
Win a box of X-Men Metal Universe shipped to anywhere in the world. Now, if you missed it, fear not. Well, I've other giveaways coming up very soon on our Instagram feed. And we don't know who's won it yet because we haven't done the live draw. But all will be revealed, and it'll be on our Instagram, and we'll probably pop it on the Facebook page as well.
That's a good idea.
So, who's our intro artist? You know what? We didn't actually talk about this before we went on air, but I'm going to tell you right now it is Bobby Breed. Artist.
What?
And we're going to get into his work in a minute because I'm a big fan, and I don't yet own any of his stuff. But we will get into it shortly. He's a lovely man as well. He's really, really nice.
Lovely. Absolutely nice.
So we are going to talk about this week because we don't want to do any chit chat. We want to get straight into it. We're going to talk about what is vintage anyways.
Ooh,
is going to be the title of this episode. And the reason I chose to go there with that is because we've had some new members of the community of late who've come in from the maybe the sports side or maybe the grading side, who may not be as familiar with Marvel cards, and that's fine. You know, everyone starts somewhere.
It happens.
Nothing wrong with that. And they've kind of posted on the group, has anyone got any vintage graded Marvel cards they're selling? You know, because they're obviously looking for stuff because, you know, everyone's on the train. Everyone's on the train. Yeah. And very rarely when there's been maybe 4 posts in the past 2 months, I'd say, and different people, but they've all used the same term, vintage. And very few of those actually have followed up in the group or actually had many people offer stuff. And I think the confusing thing is when you're talking about Marvel cards, what exactly do you define as vintage? So it got me thinking. So you know what? I put a question on the group. And we had some really good. You're chuckling away here. I love it.
Something that before one was born. I love it. Well, because it's funny. Because a lot of people. It's funny because right now, and I just posted this on my personal Instagram. But a lot of people. I just posted a huge message for people.
At Sketch Card Hive, by the way. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about this in a moment. No, I really want to talk.
So, about this. I think it's a really. Okay, so it's a very scary time about what's going on right now. It's a lot of people who are desperately seeking Susan, are running desperately seeking Marvel cards.
Love it. Yeah.
And they are trying to figure out what's the best thing to get into. And when I say get into, for some people, it's not get into, have fun and collect. And, you can make some money off the side. No one's, guilting anybody about that at all, including me. But people are very much trying to pop in. Hey, what's everybody into? Pop out, grab what they can, grade what they can, and then come back and profit margins and all this other kind of crazy stuff.
Which has been going on in sports cards for decades.
Decades. And it's a healthy part of that hobby. Because Marvel's so young and new, we just don't right now, because we all know each other so well and we kind of know where all the cards are and all the bodies are buried. It's very hard for people to be coming in and asking these questions for us, because it's just a confusing time. Because right now we're kind of looking at these people and kind of like, yeah, you're asking about these. Well, we have them, we collect them, we've looked at them for a long time. It's a very strange time in Marvel cards is all I'm going to say. So the question is, what is vintage? I think that's a great question. And this was Ian's idea for an episode, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it.
No, it's one of these things I've been mulling over, and it was kind of time, really. So we're going to go through. We're not going to go through all of these answers, and I probably should have corralled them into some sort of shape, because some of them have got different things. I'm not going to necessarily name check everyone. I'm just going to go through the answers and we'll bat it around. So the first person was something from before one was born. Okay, well that's a very subjective position. And followed up with 92, 96 are firmly in that category. So straight away, we've got someone who's put a flag in the sand and said 92 to 96 as a year period. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay. Next point of view, I believe in collectibles, it's supposed to be a minimum 40 years, which is
coming from the man himself. Good guy.
Which is absolutely cool. Now I get that in sports cards, because I think I can't remember who we were talking to recently, but baseball cards been around since like the 1890s. So I get it in terms of baseball, because vintage,
like things that came in tobacco wraps, things like that, those skinnier cards.
Yeah.
I think of a Mickey Mantle vintage,
packets, some of them. Yeah.
But right. I think so. I do think, I think of those as vintage. So it makes sense on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Marvel here. So if you go with Marvel, if you're going to be like minimum 40 years, we're talking that for Marvel, that would mean 1981 or earlier. So that effectively means there's only one, maybe two sets that would fall in that, because there was a set, and this is where you'll know this better than me. There was a set in the late 60s, if I'm not mistaken.
So 1966. I don't know how to pronounce it. I keep thinking I'm saying it wrong. D-O-N.
Oh, Donruss.
Donruss. Donruss. Sorry, yeah. I forget sometimes. No, so 1966, okay. Donruss is technically the first. The OG, the very first Marvel cards. The only discrepancy there is that they're cards in the sense that they're cut in the shape of a card, but they're really just featuring panels of comic books. Yeah. And they have some really cool stuff on them. Like they do have a little bit of an insert set where you can write in a caption of what a character's thinking.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, no, it's really, they're awesome cards. I'm not taking away anything from them, but they are number one for sure.
Yeah, they're number one. Yeah, and then there was a sticker set in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so they're
77,
70s. So I have it. So it's Topps did stickers. Topps also did gum wrappers where they showed superheroes on in panels. So that exists. But the big one that's card size. And I always think about things in terms of card size, because there were always things created with Marvel stuff when Marvel first came out, right? They did a bunch of stuff. But I think what people are really wanting to know is what is card sized and consider the first. The 70s stuff, 80s stuff, and there's even some foreign stuff in the 80s that's hard to find from the Philippines and all that kind of stuff. But I do think what the big one that I like personally is the Topps sticker, which is 1976 and 1978. I think those are the 2 years.
Okay, that's good.
I think.
So you've got, so certainly I would personally, it's my I was going to hold this, but I think personally vintage would definitely apply to the 60s set, because it's the first one. You can't get.
I agree. I can't get more vintage than vintage.
So, I guess what we're going for here is how late does vintage go? Because if you think about the fact that that's kind of it's a bit of an outlier. It was the early set, but there wasn't really a proper card set until about 20 years later, until we get to kind of 1987. The Comic Images, the foursome that did the original Marvel Universe and then there were 4 sets. There was Marvel Universe. There was
Heroic Origins, Author Adams.
There we go.
And Colossal Conflicts or something.
That's it, Colossal Conflicts. There we go. So those were the 4.
I have to do other things in my life. Jesus Christ.
No, it's fine. I know.
How did I get here? I wasn't like this. I had things going on, people.
Yeah. I had a life once.
No, yeah. So those are definitely, I guess the 80s stuff, I would include that in the vintage. And the 80s stuff is interesting because it's not, the 80s stuff I would include as vintage because it's kind of like, it's not necessarily original art. They're stencils and they're originally colored. Yeah. So that's the difference in that 80s kind of realm stuff. 1966 stuff, I think they were pulled as well. I don't know if it was original art for those. I could be wrong. That one I'm not sure of. But yeah, the 80s stuff, the top stickers were also stencils. Like the Silver Surfer is a direct pull from Silver Surfer 1. Yeah. And they put funny captions in there. So funny captions have been part of Marvel cards.
Captions ones, yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm guessing is vintage. I would personally, I would argue that anything before 1990 Marvel Universe is vintage,
where it was mass produced. And I think we're probably on the same page here with this, because, and it's interesting. A lot of people that there's a strong argument in the comics, in the comments. I knew it began with CO, where a lot of people have said everything till 96, including 96. Which is interesting, but which is fine. And I guess that falls into the whole, but they're so mass produced that there's no shortage of them. But then again, that leads to the argument that the reason people are grading them is because they were so mass produced that nobody looked after them. They're actually really nice copies.
That's always been my argument. I know people say they were mass produced. There's tons of sports cards that are mass produced, and there's tons of sports cards where you have like over 300, 400, 500 cards graded in a Gem Mint 10, and they're still going for a good amount, just like in Pokemon. So again, this is all so new for us in the sense of what you're really seeing here are worlds emerging. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, right? Like Marvel cards, we were shit on a lot, to be honest. Okay. And really the people who collected Marvel cards,
you collect Marvel cards, loser.
Like we really were. Like people did not care about these at all, and we've all had that experience. So it's not just me saying that. Like I can point to like 20 people who said, I went to a comic store, asked about Marvel cards, and it laughed me out of the door. So that existed, and all of us are very tight. Like we have problems with each other, sure, but all of us really like the cards. Like I can't, like in all seriousness, like we have our beefs with like people or whatever. And, I love people in this group too, but in all seriousness, all of us are fans of this. It's not like we're not, you know what I mean? Like we are fans. So it never mattered so much. And prices did get a lot, like 2013 Flair Retro. That's when the price increase really happened. Because the type of inserts where they're invited sports collectors to collect cards, which I think is great because a lot of them stuck around and have tons of cards. And we're finding a lot of really interesting information from those people. Yeah. And then when you got to MM16, it started getting crazy. Yeah. Right. And then it went to really higher modern prices. And then, of course, the boom and everything now is basically there's this huge rush and everyone's catching up and Marvel's being pushed very hard by a lot of interest to the front of the line, where we haven't been for a long time. Yeah.
One of the things I find interesting about this thread is some of the answers have thrown in definitions and applied them, but as if they were from other areas. So, for example, in cars, antique and vintage and classic, mean very different things. Yeah. Very set things.
Very, very different.
And in comics, you've got Golden Age, Silver Age, and those are very now well documented in industry sector whatever specific dates that applies to. I mean, in some cases, I think you can actually almost narrow it down to the issue in the month that stopped being Silver Age and then it became Bronze Age. And
I know, isn't that crazy?
But it's absolutely bonkers. But I guess it makes sense, and it's good that that's happened because everyone's kind of agreed. It's like they all settled on a format, VHS or Betamax. They've settled on VHS. Everyone knows where they are. Happy days.
100%.
So I think it's a really, really valid conversation to have, because ultimately, if someone's talking about vintage with referring to Marvel cards, it might not mean the same thing to different people. And when you're talking about the price of some of the cards that are now starting to appear, the higher grades, especially from those 1987 sets, those Comic Images for Quartet that we just talked about, that's kind of getting up there now. Antique, someone said antique is super old, vintage is really old. Well, that's me. Retro is new old. I like that. Retro is new old. I like that.
I like that. I'm going with that one.
Yeah. And yet other people have said, in my opinion, from Marvel, anything up to 1997 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man. And I just think that let's think about it in terms of Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, Modern Age.
I agree.
Let's just
I like
play
that
game. Let's play.
I'm with it. I'm with the game. Let's play the game.
So we're going to do Golden Age. I'm going to say Golden Age. Where do I stop it? Do I include those 1987 sets? I think I'm going to.
Yeah, I say Golden Age is what? Okay, so what are they again? There's Golden Age, Silver Age,
Bronze Age,
right,
and then Modern Age. I guess I'm not sure what
Modern Age is good. Okay,
so they've moved on from comics in terms.
So I'm just trying to get the picture in my head. So Gold, I think you're about to say, is from 1966 to the 1990, like right before 1990 Marvel Universe.
Yes, I would actually say that it ends with those 4 Comic Images sets in 87.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it includes
quite a lot of sets.
Agreed.
Oh, you don't think it includes the Comic Images set?
No, I think it doesn't include the 1990. I think it includes the Comic Images. I think you're right.
Right. But here's the thing. So we've talked about those 4 Comic Images sets, the Marvel Universe, like before Marvel Universe was the big Marvel Universe.
First covers. There's another one in there.
Oh, yeah, 1984.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, that would fall into that. So I think it stops with that the 4 that ended with Colossal Conflicts, because in 88 and 89, Comic Images did also put out like a Spider-Man one. I think Wolverine from then till now was around then.
Yeah.
So I would argue that we stopped the Golden Age after the 87 Colossal Conflicts Comic Ages, and then we start the Silver Age.
What starts the Silver Age?
Well, anything after that 1987 Colossal Conflicts. So those Comic Images sets that came out in 88, 89 through to 1991. And then obviously the first Impel ones.
See, for me, and I could be wrong in this. I could be wrong in this. When you think of an age, right? Like Golden Age, Silver Age, that kind of stuff. An age is not only a time frame, but it also signifies the change in the thing we're looking at, right? Like if you look at vintage cards, right, there's something that's in the make of the piece that changes to another age, right? That's the logic, right? So when you have cards that don't operate in this mechanical way and they started mechanically operating this way, changes the age, and all of a sudden you move over into a new era of a type of thing. That's how I'm picturing it. So what I'm thinking is, we spoke to Bob Budiansky, right? The first time Marvel cards were thought of as trading cards, taking inspiration from sports cards that have been around forever, where they put power meters, bios, all this kind of good stuff. Once that started really happening with intention, and it makes sense that the Marvel company taking over Marvel cards would start a new age.
Marvel Universe 1990.
You see what I mean? Like that's in my head. That's what I'm thinking.
So we're thinking Silver Age from then, if we're going to play
Yes, because it's a change in the fundamental way of understanding Marvel cards suddenly, right? Comic Images did so much good stuff, and those cards are brilliant. And I think people really should be looking at them because they're special, 100%. But I think just 1990 Marvel Universe is too significant of a set to be not the start of the Silver Age of cards, of Marvel cards. I don't know. I could be wrong. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. It does make sense to do it after Colossal Conflict too. I don't think that's too far off at all.
But I think one thing that I would say that the Silver Age we were probably thinking would end. Where are we thinking? I think it's ending. 96.
I think Silver Age.
I think. Well, shall I tell you where I see the Bronze Age starting?
Yes, let's do that because I'm with you on this.
I think it's Fleer Ultra Spider-Man 97 because that's a change because it's the first sketch cards.
I love it. That's it. Sounds clean to me.
So I think we're talking about anything before Fleer Ultra Spider-Man 97.
Yes,
would be Silver Age from wherever we
before that insert. Because the truth is that insert, like Ian just pointed out, that insert changed. That's quite a bit. It's how Marvel cards were collected.
Hobby defining.
It's a horrible defining moment. There you go. That's it. I love it.
Hobby defining moment. So if we're going,
look at us solving all of the world's problems.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
We're doing great. It is so on fire with this.
The interesting thing is that, obviously, and I would say, some people said same with sports cards, 70s and earlier. You can't do the same with sports card. We've just discussed.
You can't do it. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's apples and pears. You're not comparing 100%. Apples with apples. So I think you do have to have a different distinction for what is vintage in Marvel cards in the same way that there's a different distinction for what is vintage in collecting classic cards. There's a different distinction altogether, and it's actually very similar to Marvel cards for video games and what defines retro video games because, short of anything before maybe the mid 80s, everything was in a massive cabinet in an arcade.
Yes.
You wouldn't have it in your home.
Right.
So it's only when technology allowed it to get to a certain size did it become a certain thing. Now, I don't think there's any such thing as vintage or classic or anything like that with video games. It literally, retro seems to be the whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in
some of the very groups, young.
Yeah, some of the groups I'm in, they make a very clear distinction as to when retro stops.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it's kind of fair game. Do you see what I mean?
Like that.
So that's very interesting. I know we're not necessarily. A lot of people have said up to 97.
Makes sense.
And some people have said, someone said vintage is anything 90s and before.
Okay.
So I know we've gone gold, silver, bronze with what we've just talked about, and we've kind of avoided the vintage tag. But for me, I just can't put the 90s, like especially the 90 to 96.
It's not vintage. I'm sorry. I disagree. I don't think the 90s cards are vintage. They're not vintage. Period.
Yeah.
They're not. You can't do that. They're just not vintage.
Maybe they are classic.
They're timeless.
They're certainly
but they're
timeless,
not
just
vintage.
Like
Oh, stop. But no, because here's the thing, and you got to think about this from the sports card world too, right? You have to understand, like sports card have been around for a long time. Marvel is not new either. I mean, we started in '66. That's pretty good. You know what I mean? Comparatively, I mean, yeah, sports cards are a lot more honest. But I mean, I will say this though, the reason sports cards goes vintage, I always thought, was because they have an understanding of how those cards were inserted in packs.
Yeah.
And how they were packaged, how they were sold, how they were like put into fruition in terms of how they came into the world and what was the standard of how sports cards were given out.
So that's interesting. So that's provenance dictating. Scarcity might not be the right word, but anyway, it's how they were distributed, how they were handled, how they were made, and all of those things factored together factors into how long they last and how long they last in good conditions.
I love that.
That's what we're saying.
I like that.
Funnily enough, I've just scrolled down to the last comment, and I've genuinely not read this until this moment, but someone's had exactly the same thought as me.
I see
the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age stuff, and I think he's a little bit off in terms of the dates that we had, but given that there's barely anything before 1980, and you've got Silver Age 81 to 89, I can't quite slot into those. I do think that the hobby defining change is a very good yardstick on that. And if you were going to go Bronze Age, so if you're saying Bronze Age started with the first sketch card set, Fleer Ultra Spider-Man 97, I would argue that the Bronze Age went up too. And this is just my opinion. I'm sure people will feel differently about this. I would argue that it ends with the Fleer retro sets in 2013.
Agreed. Because that's when modern start.
Yeah, and that's where modern starts, because
that's when modern starts.
And because that is, not to get too meta on you, the hobby looking at itself and choosing what it considers to be retro.
Exactly.
In order to sell more product.
Genius.
So
no, I'm with you. I know.
Also sports stuff coming in.
I agree. You know what? I am posting this. You know what? Ian and I'm going to say you and I wrote this because I'm posting this because I am over this. We need to have some consistency, and I think this is awesome.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's just our proposal. It's just our idea. It's just our opinion.
We're just talking here.
And opinions being like arseholes, everyone's got them, as the replies to this question dictate. I'm going to mention his name on this one, Ed Webb, because Ed Webb just had this discussion with a fellow dealer, and obviously fellow dealer kind of gives the game away as to the fact that it might be a dealer typing this. Cards desperately need ages like comics, especially non-Marvel that can go back even further. One man's vintage is pre-war, another's is 80s wax packs. But yeah, so he's right. So basically, there needs to be a standard, if you like, that people kind of agree on, and no one's ever going to fully agree with it. I'm sure there's a camp out there in comic world who still vehemently disagree with the accepted standard of Bronze Age,
always,
and things like that.
I'm sure
there's someone on that hill quite happily dying over there somewhere. But we're not at that point for Marvel cards yet. We're simply not there. And this is the point where maybe it's time that we kind of start, as a hobby.
I think things should be, like openly solidified, right? Yeah. I think things need to be like kind of agreed on. I mean, we can have our discrepancies, but there needs to be things written down and shown. And I'm definitely gonna, I'm doing this.
And the reason
I'm going to make a post.
The reason I'm kind of going there is because, and again, it feeds into the fact that it's not all the hobby, and it's not everyone's hobby, because people collect in different ways. But for a lot of people, there is the element of the hobby where slabs, so graded cards, slabs, I think we can call them slabs now, because they've been called them slabs in comics world for years. People are watching them sold. People are speculating on what they're going to be sold for. People are whole reams of content that are just devoted to the fact that cards are selling for X amount of money, which is fine. So that aspect of the hobby is there, and people are getting into it and existing, and it is one part of the hobby. But I think it's important to say this, because if anyone is tempted to join, if they choose that is the collecting route they want to go in, and someone is putting a card up for 4 figures and using the word vintage,
it's horribly missing.
It's important.
This is important. This has always been important. We've talked about this for years. This is essential to our hobby. This is us writing these things down and making, historical notes here. I mean, not to make it sound important. It's just cards, I know. But I do think at the end of the day too, like, hobbies advance because people take them, because people hold them with passion.
Yes.
That's how hobbies move through time. They're shared. They're cared about. They're, given to each other throughout the time. And, Marvel cards have been around a long time, and we've all come in here from different worlds. I mean, I have to say, I think Marvel card collectors are probably one of the most global communities.
Yeah.
I would argue, because we know people from all around the world. I've had conversations with people all around the world.
Yeah.
People love these cards.
And I can't stand people who try and geofence the hobby.
Yeah.
That's why
it's so harsh.
Yeah.
I can't, no, it's true. Like when people, and those groups that do that, I don't like talking crap openly. I do it privately behind people's back. But I will say this. I think you miss something when you make things inaccessible. Yeah. I think you miss new perspectives. I think you miss growth. I think there's a lot of things that have to be, everyone, you protect your cards, you have your friends, you have your circles, you do your stuff, but there's no reason for misinformation to be out there. I understand people are trying to get a deal, and I'm the same way.
And make a buck, although we'll come on to that in just a moment.
Yeah. And, I get that. I get all those things. But at the end of the day, the more people who understand what things are worth and what things are going for, yes, look, the truth is one day you will be outpriced. I've been outpriced a lot, and it sucks and it's terrible, and I miss out on stuff. Sure. But at the end of the day, I have to be okay with the fact that I can't have it all.
Yeah.
And that there's no reason for me to not think the things I have are great just because I can't afford the next best thing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think it all goes back to just being comfortable with what you collect and collecting within your means as well.
Yes. Always collect within your, no matter how
accumulated debt.
Yes. No matter how important you may give something is, it's not worth not being able to put food in your mouth or your children's mouth or your family. Like, it's not, and we've all been there. I've been there. Ian's been there. You know what I mean? You get caught up, you get excited, it happens. And this is really fun. So it's, it can be kind of addicting, but and trust me, when you become part of a community, people tend to look out for you, and you tend to find things like Ian getting that buyback, Ian making trades on ePack and getting certain cards for great value. That's all through friendships. You know what I mean? That at the end of the day, I've gotten the best cards I've ever gotten through friendships.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not saying, that's not saying that people should, just give the cards away to their mates.
No.
That's not what we're saying at all. What we're saying is fair trades where people on both sides feel that they've got value from it, and the value comes in the fact that they've got that connection.
Exactly.
So, I think it's
exactly.
I think it's fascinating. There's some really good comments on this thread.
I love it. I think everyone's done a bang up job.
And there's some really, really really well thought out ones as well. One person's been a little bit vague. Old and high quality Marvel cards. I don't disagree with you in any way. But it doesn't kind of give us a yardstick to move up and down.
Yeah, that's a little broad. But a lot of people don't know. Yeah. Like, I'm meeting so many new collectors who just don't understand yet.
Yeah,
where the good stuff is. I don't mean to say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like, good subjective. But I mean, they don't understand. They see what everyone talks about and they think, oh, that's the only thing to run for.
Yeah,
and they haven't really. Yeah, they really haven't seen the really interesting stuff yet.
Well, that's the thing, people, there's obviously the tentpole stuff. I equate it to being an iceberg. There's the stuff that's above the waterline, and there's all the stuff down below that you might not see.
Yes.
So obviously everyone, if you're new to the hobby at the moment and you're going on, let's choose Instagram, for example. Instagram is flooded at the moment with
PMGs.
people flexing PMGs, people flexing graded cards, and they're very proud of them. So that's fine. That's
awesome.
Where you go. I do it on my Black Cat Collector feed, and absolutely great. But you can very quickly get I think it's difficult because what you're not seeing people posting the cards that may give them equal satisfaction, but may not be the kind of tentpole things in their collection. So we talked about it earlier. The comic cuts from Marvel 80th, for example, are really undervalued. I still think that the creator corners from Marvel Annual will definitely be something that people.
Those are great, by the way.
I think that they're really good. I think the writer autos from Masterpieces 2008, all of the autos from Marvel Beginnings. There's some real at the moment, I think, still very affordable, and you can still find them out there. Ways to get into the hobby and get some good, some cards that you'll be really into that have that kind of extra specialness by the fact they've been signed, for example.
I did under $100 steals, and we should do an episode on Sketch Card Hive.
Yeah, you're putting out
it was fun.
faster than I can watch, dear.
No, shush. It was fun to do, but it was because of a bunch of people asked me about it, and I was looking through eBay, and I was like, you know what? I was thinking about you a little bit, and I was like, let me look at these cards because there's things that people just don't really have a fix on yet.
Spotted that diamond that I'd not picked up.
Yes, that's why I sent it to you, right? Because I was hunting for that episode, and I was like, this is just too good of a price for something so rare. I mean, when you have something hard numbered out of 10 and it's off the beam path, but it's hard numbered under 10. And Rittenhouse, baby, one word, Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
And when you have something at that, you have something under $100 that's numbered out of 10, not to tell you how to spend your money. And I don't buy all these cards either because I just can't afford it. But it's just such a good buy. It's such a fun, you know what I mean? Especially for such a limited amount of money, cards that are out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a fun buy.
Can I tell you something that'll make you excited?
I'm already excited. So I don't know how you're going to get me more excited, but
well, you know what? I'm going to take a stab at it when I can find it on my phone. Here we go. So I have just acquired a Marvel Masterpieces base card. That means I'm now 6 away from completing my Marvel Masterpieces 96 base set.
No way.
Yes. So courtesy of Nick on MMC, he's just agreed a deal with me as we've been recording for card number 86, Scarlet Spider.
That's a great looking card.
It is a really good looking card. I can't remember if it's Julia Boris off the top of my head. I need to go and have a look at it. So yeah, and one of the ones in my remaining is going to be a tough one, Psylocke, who for some reason just goes crazy on the pricing. But yeah, Ghost Rider, Mystique, Psylocke, Thor, card number 82, Thor, because there's several of him. Card number 87, Spider-Man, and card number 96, Daredevil. And I'm done, baby.
Wow, that's a huge achievement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing the double impact. I actually sold the 2 I had because
no,
it's more than I want to pay on some of them. But I've got the gold gallery. But yeah, the base set. So yeah. So yes, that I want to share the happy news with you while we were talking live-ish on air.
That's amazing! Wow, congrats, man. That's like
I picked up about 8 or 9 in the last week.
Wow, you've been busy.
Yeah, no, I have. Funny enough, we were talking about comic cuts. Was it this episode or the last episode? It might have been the last episode. We were talking about comic cuts from Spider-Man Metal Universe. That's right.
Right.
And we were saying how much we liked them. Well, I just decided to climb off the Fleer Ultra X-Men comic cuts train. Because I was kind of like, I'm never going to finish the set, and then I saw how much they were selling for, and I was like, I'm never going to finish the set, so I sold them.
Yeah, that's smart, man.
And I sold them, and I got I got a considerable. Well, put it this way, I finished paying off my credit card debt, and I've had some money to buy Marvel Masterpieces to make 6 as a result.
That's amazing.
So that was worth doing, because I don't know if you're I think you're like me, is when you see cards in your collection, you're like, if you consider selling it, you've already crossed the line where it's no longer.
Yeah, once I'm there, I'm there. Like I'm at the point now in my collection where I don't have anything to sell because I don't have anything extra. Like I hit the
cut down to the meat, to the bone.
I had to, man. You know, the Surfers, it's a shame because and put this in perspective, guys. Ian collects sets, a lot of sets, and he had like a lot of things he was working on very close to being finished, and most of them were finished. And at one point, it was getting so expensive for me as a Surfer collector that I had to basically just be like, wait a minute, I can't do all of this and have something else on the side. So I just had to stop and be like, okay, it's either Surfer and everything else has to go to the side, because I just couldn't. I can't keep up.
So next thing on the block for me.
70th.
Marvel 70th in the binder. This is going to be sold. I'm going to list it this week.
Do you have an extra Silver Surfer Marvel Comics?
I don't have any extras, unfortunately.
Damn.
Oh, sorry. I have a feeling I might have a spare the Chase set the 9-card chase set. But apart from that, that's it. But yes, I don't have the parallel set, unfortunately, but I do have the parallel. There's a 9-card puzzle, which I think is 70 years of Marvel cards, and there's a regular version, then a much nicer version of it. So I've got those, but this is such a beautiful set because they did these die cut. I did these die cut cards.
That's what I was asking about. Because I want to get an extra surfer because I'm looking for one.
Yeah.
I want to find one in really good condition.
Yeah, I mean, this was beautiful. Unfortunately, I wouldn't split it.
Smart man.
But yeah, and then the sticker cards.
Awesome.
You've seen those stickers.
Oh yeah, they're gorgeous.
Which are really nice. And then the acetate ones. There's 6 of those. They're beautiful. And then the set, which I've got the base. I don't unfortunately have the parallel of the set. But what I do have in here, which I'm really excited about, is I have the case toppers. All 3 of them.
Ooh.
Still in their Rittenhouse seal. I've got the whole set numbered the same. I think
that's always nice.
I think. Hang on, I might have spoken.
There's a stupid little Silver Surfer on there that took me forever to realize that was on there.
Was that from this set? I thought that was from a different set.
There's 3 of them I found recently, so I've been really screwed as of late.
I've just suddenly realized I don't think I can sell these case toppers because I've just spotted Black Cat on one of them.
Oh, good!
Good job.
I'm so glad you saw it.
Look.
There she is. You can't sell the.
I can't sell the set of 3 though. I'd need to keep all 3.
You need to keep all 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I never knew that existed.
I'm so glad you took
Seriously,
a look.
I didn't know that was there.
That's so glad you took a look. That's not even on my Black Cat Master
checklist, which is a spreadsheet of absolute.
By the way, when the hell are we doing this thing, man? You're killing me over here, Smalls.
I'm sorry. Listen, hey, well, I've got my wife is on holiday in the.
Oh no, I'm joking. I know.
No. Seriously, busy. She's actually get time in the house without anyone here with me, which never happens. Then we can do it. But yeah, she's off in October for a few days in Devon. So yeah, these are. I'm moving these 3 sealed.
Keep that.
Case toppers, all 3 of them, into my Black Cat binder right now.
Those are pretty.
So
still sealed, hotness,
and they're foil as well. They've got foil.
Unlike Matt Fuller,
beautiful.
That's sick man.
I get opening these for sketches.
Don't you dare!
I get opening them for sketches.
What is wrong with you people? You guys have prompts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you
do not remove seals.
You opened one because you were worried about the signature.
I did because I wasn't gonna. I guess that doesn't make sense. I opened it because I actually. This is a tough answer that I have to give. Yeah, I opened a Star Trek one because I thought this character was awesome, and it was an auto and a memorabilia card.
But I'm going to carry on doing it because they're slightly kind of to one side.
Sleeve.
They're not penny sleeved inside the thing, and I get why because they present better for only one layer of plastic. But anyway, listen. But yeah, I've got to keep all 3 because the picture on the back, the small picture,
has her.
The whole image has her on every back of the card. Damn it! Good catch. Wow.
Stuck.
Oh my goodness me! Now I'm going to be going and looking at all the other case toppers now from Rittenhouse.
Yes, you will.
So Rittenhouse case toppers, people. There's one if you're going to be looking at stuff.
Don't miss out on that.
Don't miss out on that. I'm going to read a good review that we've had, and then we're going to talk about our intro artist, and then we're going to make a beat path for the hills, baby. So we're gonna because the beer is getting warm and we need to get out of here. Right.
Yep.
This is from someone called Dieselwood. I don't know who Dieselwood is, but on the 12th of August 2021, they chose to write on Apple Podcast / iTunes a 5-star review that said, "Love this pod. I just love these gents. Not only are they funny and witty, they interview huge artists in the industry. We've got some more huge ones coming up, actually.
It's going to be great.
We need to get them circling into land because they said they'll do them. We just need to pin them down for dates. They interview huge artists in the industry and are incredibly knowledgeable on all things Marvel cards. Oh, shucks. No one's more knowledgeable than me.
Shut up.
Beyond the podcast, they're friendly and always helpful on the forum. So happy with this pod and the collective. Keep up the great work, fellas. So thank you, Dieselwood.
Oh,
Diesel Wood sounds like someone who gets excited at big cars. Anyway, we are going to talk about. That made no sense. We're going to talk about. Nothing over there.
I didn't, but it was great.
Going on here, I'm trying to find. I've got this really annoying toolbar thing at the top of the page, and it's getting in the way when I'm trying to go to annoying. The Instagram feed of art_of_breed BREED. This is Bobby Breed, artist, passion and dedication for family and art. Now, I don't own anything by you yet, Bobby, and yet I saw a number of Black Cat cards for Marvel Masterpieces 2020, which would have been mine had the collectors played ball and made it happen for me, but they chose not to, and they traded them elsewhere. But not that I'm bitter. Anyway, moving on. So I love his work. I've always liked his work. He's been on so many sets, it's untrue. I mean, let's start off with your favourite.
Baby Yoda.
Grogu. Now, I'm wondering if that's actually... I think that's stock that Bobby's had made. Look.
Albuquerque Comic stock.
But it's got his logo on as well.
Maybe that's how he signed. Well, no, maybe not.
So maybe Bobby
12 out of 25. They're numbered. Yeah. Hard numbered. That 12 was written down.
This is really cool. It's from Albuquerque Comic Con.
It's awesome.
I like it, and it's a Baby Yoda, and it's on his Instagram feed, so go check it out. I'm going to find the email from Bobby that told me what sets he's been on, because it's kind of important to understand that Bobby Breed is an artist that you kind of should be aware of, because he's been around a lot longer than you think. Here we go. Let me find it.
Does great work.
He does do really good work, and he's a lovely fella. Look at this set, right?
Wow.
Thor the Dark World. So this is going back 2014 Marvel premiere. So he started around 2013, 2014. Guardians of the Galaxy, 2015 Marvel 3D Legends game. We need to do an episode about that. That's really off everyone's radar.
I love that one. Yeah.
Because it's sketch cards that were playable. What's that all about? Crazy. Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man movie. 2015 Fleer Retro, 2017 Marvel Gems, 2017 Premiere, 2018 Masterpieces, 2019 Flair, Marvel's Runaways, 2019 Premiere, Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, 2020 Marvel Ages, 2020 Marvel Masterpieces, 2020 Marvel Black Diamond, 2021 Annual, 2021 Premiere.
Whoa.
And probably more that we don't yet know.
Probably more to come. Wow.
And I just really love his stuff. I tell you what I really like. I like his line work.
His line work is great.
Enormously so. I'm trying to find... Just look at that. Look at that Mysterio.
That Mysterio is awesome.
And that's an AP. That's a Masterpieces AP.
Yep.
It reminds... The line work does a little bit remind me of John Romita Jr. in that particular one.
I see.
But he's kind of got a touch of the Sinkovich about him as well. Just in terms of the way that he renders his pieces. Yeah. I'm trying to find some more cards. He's got some amazing comic cover work he's put up here. And boy, can he draw ladies.
Very cool.
Look at that. That's brilliant. There's a new Avengers comic cover, Ms. Marvel versus Power Girl. But look at that Beetlejuice.
I love that Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton looks so... I mean, he made him look really... It looks awesome.
I love Michael Keaton. Can I just say it?
Michael Keaton's the man.
I mean, Michael Keaton
all
is absolute.
way.
Oh my goodness, that's rude. Let's keep scrolling past because I'll get too excited. There's some great stuff on here. He
did one of Spectre.
He's prolific. He's prolific. So I'm scrolling down for his feed, and he's clearly back at cons. Look, there's all sorts of stuff here. He does Twitch stuff, Twitch TV /Art of Breed. I'm scrolling. I can't find any of that. Look at that Black Cat.
Wow.
Oh my goodness me. That's her.
That looks great.
That's her Marvel Now outfit, I think.
Beautiful.
Black Cat issue.
It's great work. Wow. It's really, good. Really cool work.
So check out Bobby Breed, Art of Breed. Check out his Twitter. Yes. Check out his Twitch, because he clearly does a lot of twitching. And I don't
a lot of live draws. It looks like stuff like that.
I've never really done. Do you do Twitch?
I don't do Twitch, man. You know, here's the thing. Like,
only so many social networks and outlets.
Someone asked me to do TikTok too, and I was like, you know what? I just don't care that much. I'm going to do 3 things: this podcast, YouTube, and Instagram.
Yeah,
that's it.
You spread yourself thin otherwise, don't you?
Yeah, man, I can't do this. I'm not interested either. Like, I'm not going to do something just for followers. I'm just not interested. So.
I mean, if you're a full-time creator and you're getting paid for it, it's different. But, you know, so
it's different. I'll do everything at that point. I mean,
exactly.
You know, slut for money. I mean, that's fine. I've been like that my whole life.
Haven't we all, dear? Haven't we all? Right,
I think we all do that.
I think we need to end this on his Taskmaster.
Wow.
Look at that Taskmaster.
Now, how could you not look at that card and enjoy collecting?
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. Visuals and tasting notes for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. You can subscribe and leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. Our podcast can be found by Googling @the MCC Pod, which will also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.